All right. Anthony, what's up, man? How you doing?
How's it going, Jason?
Good, good. Dude, I am so excited for this conversation for a couple of reasons. One, I think what you do and what you provide is very unique and is extremely needed in the mortgage space. But two, you're just a very fascinating person. You have a unique background. I think your story should be heard and listened to, and really, the value that you bring to loan officers and what you're solving for is a big gap. And I think the narrative of what you guys do, which we'll dig into, is really cool, and it's solving a lot of problems for loan officers. And the success that I've seen in your customers, hearing from them and seeing their results is really really cool. So, I think the first thing is just to get to set a baseline. So Anthony's co-founder of Vonk Digital. Vonk Digital is they create amazing websites for mortgage originators. And the coolest thing about this is, Anthony, you have a background in mortgage as the
Yep.
co-founder, so you know exactly what people are looking for, what needs to be on websites, and this is all you guys do. Like, this is your all
Yep.
in, is the websites, which I think is so cool because it's such a gap in our industry. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of like breaking down first off, your background, and then how you started Vonk Digital and building out these amazing websites for originators.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Jason. So a quick background is before I really focused on this company, which I started in 2020, going all in with Vonk. I stopped lending and left the origination world. Before that, I had a mortgage company for about 16 years. But at our height, we lent in 28 states at over 150 employees. And how Vonk even got started was when we were building our company. We started as a small brokerage. There was four of us, all self-funded, bootstrapped, if you will, in 2006. And when we started, we needed a website. So we initially went for like a really templated just solution because we needed something, right? Well, as we started growing, our needs changed, whether it would be recruiting or we needed to add more customization. So we kind of took a huge jump and we're like, all right, we've outgrown this platform. We need to be able to build a custom site. And I don't know if I've talked to you about this before, but we spent about $20,000. I mean, again, we're still a bootstrap company. We spent about $20,000 on this custom site for the design, the coding, everything. It was beautiful. But then the internet changed and sites started having to be responsive to different devices, whether it's your phone, tablet, or desktop, and ours didn't do that. So I was basically panicking. I'm like, okay, we just spent money we don't really have on this thing. We don't know how to do anything with it because it was, built by somebody that it's not affiliated with the company. That's not their primary thing. It is working on our website. It was kind of like a project-based thing. So we ended up having to scrap this thing. And I vowed we would never be put in that position again. Right? It was like, we can't do that. This isn't even our business. We're a mortgage company. We got to be focusing on lending and brokering at the time. So long story short, we built a website platform on WordPress for ourselves because at the time I think they powered a third of the internet's websites. So we're like, okay, just like building on top of like a Salesforce, for example, there's tons of companies that build apps and add-ons for that. We knew that platform was going to have longevity. So we build this website, works great. We now have full control of it. And we're like, you know what? I think other people in the industry are going to have the same problem, especially then, because there was such a divide. It was like, you're either a huge company and you have all your own tech stack, or you're small like us. And that gap, like there wasn't access to good tech. Now, fast forward to today, companies like Bonzo, and many other vendors in the industry have kind of leveled that playing field, right? Like, you can get into something that's enterprise level and excellent, not having to have these massive budgets and teams to manage them. So anyway, that's what we did. We're like, okay, let's offer this to other people in the industry. And, fast forward a decade, I kind of burnt out on lending after I sold my company and decided to focus full time on this. And, you mentioned my experience in lending and translating that to the websites. I'll tell you, based on how the market's changed, most of the stuff I did, I try to educate and teach people how not to do that, especially within the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
We used to just try to copy, like in at the time, it was like, I call
Sure.
it the mimic model.
Yeah.
Like, just fake it till you make it seem bigger than you are.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, I noticed, I'm like, wait a minute, there's better.com, there's Rocket, like these companies are trying to like decimate the local,
Totally.
the local originator.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why would you copy somebody that's trying to crush you? So like I've kind of been on this like tear of like, no. That's for some people, there's a market for that, but the local brokers, local lenders, originators, teams, like they need to be focusing on differentiating completely from that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now. It's like how do we help our clients get the best first impression out there? And I think that's through some version of personal branding and using the website for credibility building, if that makes sense.
So talk about that, because the credibility building right now, because of social media and because of we're so digitally like flooded, right? Like we pick up our phone and this is how we build, this is how we learn. And so when you look at a website today compared to even 5 years ago, what are the fundamentals that have changed that a website today should be focusing on, as a broker, as a loan officer? Like what should that content, because you're saying like, don't go big brand, like crazy, like don't mimic those guys. And so as a loan officer or a broker out there, what does the narrative look like? What story should they be telling on their website?
Okay. That's a great question. And I think the only way to answer that is to, I guess, bring to light how people use the internet now. And then you can agree with me or disagree with me if you want. But what I'm seeing is that, like you said, with the social and like the web and the internet is part of our everyday lives now. And before, the internet was kind of like an afterthought. And now the way people use the internet is for self-discovery. So they may become aware of you from, one of the things you're doing on a social platform. And then, or it could be as easy as the old school way. They get a referral from their friend or from their real estate agent referral partner. But now, instead of the discovery happening like on a phone call or at someone's office or, at a coffee shop, there's a step that didn't used to exist because we have so much access to information on the web of the self-discovery. So I learned who Jason and Bonzo is, right? I don't just call you to find out more about your company.
Right.
I go online and I Google, I go right to your website and I look that up. And if that opportunity is not done strategically, you're just missing people because they're going to go there. Whether I did this thing in the past. It's like, I almost think a bad website is worse than no website because you're subliminally telling somebody this is the user experience. This is what it's like to work with me. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's so right.
Conscious. So the way so it's an opportunity now. So if I know that, or if I'm a loan officer and I know that all my borrowers are going to look me up, even if their friends refer, like I see my mom do it with her iPad. She could have someone like a home service repair there, and she's looking them up right in front of them.
Yeah.
It's like people almost take what's on the internet as more valid credibility building than the stuff in the real world.
Sure.
It's just a shift. I didn't do it, but I just see it. So if you can use your web presence as almost like a job interview and an opportunity to reinforce whatever they saw on social, it's like, okay, you're helping people on social, you're telling stories, you're building up, a brand, for lack of a better word, or just a relationship with somebody. Then they go do that self-discovery part. What do they find? Can that reinforce what they already see, or is it going to like deter them? Because at that point, that's like an inflection point where they either decide, no, this person isn't for me, or I want to explore further. It may not be a yes yet, but at least it's like, okay, now I'm ready for a call. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that's such a good way to break it down, and especially, a bad website is worse than no website because, for advisors, we did, to your point, it wasn't like today it's a necessity, and a good website is a necessity, because to your point, the first thing that they're doing is they're Googling you, they're Googling your company name, they want to find out more. They're in that discovery phase. And
Yep.
what is happening when they get there, right? Like Seth Godin talks about that a lot, is like your brand is how you make people feel. So how are they feeling when they hit your website? Is it telling the right story about you and your business, or is it telling the wrong? Because if it's telling the wrong, or there's like limited content, there's no connection. And then they could go, oh, but this ABC loan officer over here, they have an amazing story. I'm connecting with this person. They have a strong reputation. They have their reviews on their website. Like, I know I'm not being, sold on. I can see all these reviews, like those little blocks. Like, it's like an internal building block, for the consumer. Like, okay, stack that, stack that, stack that. I'm starting to build more trust. So with that said, so what makes your websites really stand out? Like, is it how you present it? Is it how you present the narrative of the loan officer or the company? Like, what is that? How is your focus? And maybe we can even look at some examples, Anthony, of some of the websites that you've built for some of your clients. Because I mean, when I saw those sites, I was like, that's what I was looking for when I was a loan officer. I couldn't find it. And it's like, oh, they're just dialed in, man. They're really good. And the way that you tell the story and tell the narrative, present it, like, and to that point, going back to consumer behavior, it all kind of comes together. So yeah, break down, like, what does that look like on that front end website for that first experience?
Sure. Yeah. I'll pull one up. I just hit it. So let me share this. Here's one. And again, if you're looking at this and you're like, no way I'm putting myself that huge on the site.
Sure.
I understand that, right? It doesn't have to be that in your face. I mean, even just something like this where.
But you have the test, right? Yeah, that's awesome. That's sweet. You got a direct message right there. You've got the picture, like, it's pretty, it stands out.
Yeah,
I love that.
And it's a human. So now people know who Margie is. She explains that she's, focuses on self-employed borrowers and first-time homebuyers. So she's kind of identifying her audience, and it just happens in 2 seconds, versus, oh man, I got this before and after of one we just did. I don't even know if I can pull this up. Actually, I'd probably leave it out because it's so bad from where it was to where it is. I'll show you after, but let's just talk about this for a second. So
sure.
This is one of our clients in Florida. And again, if you go back to the idea of how do I use this as essentially a job interview, to reinforce, so Willie, for example, and again, disclaimer, websites on their own don't do anything. I like to joke that if you get a website, even through me, and do nothing with it, it's the equivalent of staying in the shower and expecting to become a rock star. It just is.
Love that.
So
that's awesome.
So we get excited about working with people that, whether they're, teaching in-person home buyer classes, or they have Facebook groups to help first-time home buyers, or they're heavy on social. It doesn't matter, but the ideal client and the ideal loan officer in today's world is doing something and creating some sort of value in their market. They're helping people. So if you're doing that, it's the next step is to have the website to back that up. So for example, Willie teaches first-time home buyer seminars. So he's doing something. He's educating borrowers in his market, right? Well, then they come to the site, and our goal is like, okay, we have this limited amount of time to create an impression of Willie. So what we try to do is, and we'll just scroll down. I'm just going to scroll down the homepage. Forget about the other stuff that comes with it, because this is really where I think the decisions are made. But I don't believe that you can get just from the top of this page to the bottom without understanding, one, that Willie's a real person. You can connect with him, how you ingest information, whether that's reading, audible, through video. So you can see that he's serious and that he does business. So let's just scroll down, right?
Yeah.
And another thing we're trying to do, and back to like what makes us different, I think it's the customization. That's really what we're trying to hammer into people, is to differentiate yourself. And there's wild flexibility with the
well, what I like about your sites too, it's like, as you like, and we can keep going here, but like one thing is like, if you obviously have a ton of clients, right? But I would never know that if I'm looking at one of your clients' websites to another one, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a Vonk digital website, right? Because to that customization point, like you take the story and you brand it to that company, the loan officer, and there's a lot of ways to do that. And so you don't have like this template coming out of the box, like, oh, that's a Vonk digital website. No, like this looks like a $20,000 website. Like,
right. Yeah. And that's the idea. Exactly. Yep. We're integrating booking calendars. So okay. So for Willie, bunch of easy ways to connect. But first and foremost, you see him, you see what he focuses on. So, I even think it's sometimes okay to alienate people that aren't a good fit for you, but he really focuses on military loans. And so you see him immediately, you get to meet him, back to the readings, a little message from him. I'm not going to play this whole thing.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay, so now he's a real person, right?
Yep.
You get to hear his message. Sorry about pausing on that, Willie, if you're watching this. But there's easy ways to connect. You can jump right into his first time homebuyer seminar, call whatever works for you. Then we have, we include lead forms. So these are just, we call them our journey forms, questionnaire style. They just kind of click through. I'm not going to go through them all right now, but
those are slick though. Yeah, those are great.
And again, back to customization, these in how we started, like when I had my company, we had our mortgage business, but we also got into recruiting. Some people focus on building referral partner relationships. These forms can be used for anything. The questions can be customized.
Awesome.
You can have different amounts of questions, conditional logic that kind of pushes people different ways depending on how they answer. So
sure.
Really flexible, which is nice. Okay, so again, we see him, we got to meet him, easy ways to connect. For most people, especially I was a victim of this. I was in the mortgage industry for 16 years. It becomes your second nature. Most people, it's still daunting. They don't know what the heck's going on. So just to demystify the process a little bit, we added in what it's like to work with them, to kind of demonstrate that. Again, you see some testimonials. You even see some of his borrowers. It's kind of
that's
funny.
Huge. That's so. That's awesome.
And then a little message. I think the picture says it all. You're gonna have to read this to right. You see that he has a team, and then we're feeding in his Instagram feed. So we can do this with YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, now Facebook. It doesn't matter. And my I guess reasoning for this is like, you're already creating content. People may not be finding you here, right? So we're just feeding it in as a way to just make the site a little bit more three-dimensional. And again, you just see that he's engaged, and you can learn more about him that way. And then a blog. So, which we provide weekly content too. So
I was going to ask you, so what is, the thing I get to is like, okay, like, even on the Bonzo side, it's like, all this looks good, but like, how much is this is done for me? And so what we do, obviously it's like loan officers are busy, like, they're closing deals, right? They're building relationships, and they don't have time to spend their day in tech, right? Like they're like, I need it. I want it this way. And I don't want to have to worry about it. Right. Because, and I agree with them. Like they're busy. I don't like when they're using Bonzo, it should be automated. Like they should just be responding to people raising their hand. It's the same thing with their digital assets as their website and social media. Now, again, there's some argument there with social that should be, authentically you, and you should be putting out your own content instead of just like regurgitating others. But specifically with your website, like what does that look like? When a loan officer comes onto Vonk and they say, hey, I want a website, are they like providing the content? Are you kind of building that? Like, what does that process look like?
No, good question. We try to get it. Hey, listen, I understand you don't want to become you meaning the originator, the broker, the company owner does not want to become a website technician, right? So how we do it, and I guess this is the best way to put it: custom versus customizable. There's a big difference, right? So custom is from scratch, super expensive. I watched when I built my custom website, they built down the street, and this is a true story, down the street from my old office. While we were building this custom site, they took a empty parking lot with weeds in it. I mean, this thing was disgusting. And they turned it into a fully functioning pharmacy that was open for people faster than my website was built. So custom versus customizable. Yeah. So what we do is we start everybody with basically 99% of what you need. All the loan content, education content, the lead forms. We have multiple, at any given time, we have about a dozen layouts that you start with, right? But the key is that it's customizable. So if I was gonna build a website for you, typically it takes us a couple business days to get a first draft ready. We do a round of edits where we can that's when we're pulling in your social feeds, we're adding your online reviews in there, and if you have a video, if you have a photo, and making it more personal. But this whole process takes about a week, and really the only heavy lifting on your end is just filling out the first intake form, which I call like the easiest quiz you'll ever take. It's information about yourself, NMLS ID, address, bio. So we make the process really easy. And going back to what you said earlier, this is all we do. It's like we're like a machine. So the focus really helps us. The background helps because I just build stuff. I just have our team build stuff that I would want if I was going to start another mortgage company. It's like, it's that simple. I feel closer to I spent more time as an originator and as a company owner and a lender than I have on this side. So really a lot of my core strengths are still on that side. So it's just like, okay, would I need this? No, we push it aside. But long story short, the process is easy.
Yeah. And to that point, it's like, there's a lot of marketing companies out there be like, I'll build your site. And then you get a $15,000 to $20,000 bill later. And the problem is that they're trying to build a narrative of what they think they know about the mortgage in a limited scope. And really you spend a lot of time with them. Like, this is the industry. This is what it's like. This is like, it's very unique to have somebody who is specifically building mortgage websites that has a specific mortgage background and has done and like we always say, like, fail fast so we can learn what not to do. Your experience of like trying to custom build this thing and know like how long it took and what it took to keep it up. It's like a lot of these loan officers out there, they're 1, 2, 5-man shops. They don't have a marketing team. They don't have an IT person. Like but they need a good presence, and a good presence today is more important than ever. And I think what you solve for is insane. Like it's awesome. And so when it comes down to like, if you're looking at like getting started and like, as far as like, if I were to come to you today, how long would it take me to get, assuming I got you my quick form, my quick survey, and how long would that take to get started? And then the other piece of this is that, I know that you have a very strong price point for entry, which is also very attractive, especially right now, because, everyone's just like where the market's at. So if you could talk a little bit about, where that entry point for price is, and then, that'd be great.
Yeah. Let me share my screen again. So we try to, and again, even if you don't need a website, go to my website and just start seeing what we're doing. And then maybe you can apply that into your own business, because
that's good.
A lot of the stuff we're doing is very mindful, making the information readily available, as you click through, there's videos explaining what you're about to see next for a reason, because we're trying to make it very easy to navigate. But for pricing, right now we have 3 plans. Well, that's just, so the way we break it down is for our mortgage pro plan. That's if you're a single man broker, an originator at a company, and you just want the full robust plan, mortgage calculators, lead forms, educational content, weekly blogs, social feeds, everything. Just $139 a month, hosting, everything's included. 137, excuse me, one-time setup fee. We even have a basic 1003. Again, I kind of go back to how if I were to start a mortgage company again, to me, this is great if you have nothing.
Yeah,
it doesn't replace the point of sales. The point of some of the point of sale solutions out there are so great. So what we're doing now is either integrating or linking to anyone you want. It doesn't really matter.
That's cool.
But yeah, everything's included. Start there. If you're a team, 2 to 15 people, there's just a minor jump, and that gets you profile pages for everybody. They can have their own links to
like microsites on that. So like each person is kind of like a microsite. That's cool. Yeah.
And then if you are larger than that, we say starts, it just really depends. And it goes back to like, customizable, a lot of,
Right.
as you get bigger, you just have different needs. You have multi locations. Maybe you want a national interactive map. There's other stuff that it becomes more unique as it gets bigger. So we kind of try to make that, project by project. So, but very, very easy to get started, sign up online. I always recommend, and again, going back to like, what is it? Don't talk about it, be about it. Like everything I say, I actually do myself. So
yeah,
you can just go to the website and start with just watching the video demo. And that all comes back to, that free framing, building trust, showing that, helping people before they make a decision. So if you start here, you can kind of get a nice quick 15-20 minute overview of what we do and why we do it. I look at live sites, and then from there, if you think you want to explore it more, book a call. So that's simple.
Well, what's cool too is that you're providing, like, I love, it's just like, hey, look at my site. Even if you're not going to use this, like, this is the way that we should be building and looking at our sites. And so it's interesting too, like you educate like crazy. And I love that, because you're educating not just around like, what does a good website look like, but it's like those other manifestations of a good website, like, how to create good video, how to, what to say in video, like how to, create mortgage content, how to, get found on Google, like, and then matching that all together with your profile, right? Like your digital footprint. So, definitely, even like learn from Anthony and Vonk, because I've learned a lot. I think that your guys' content, what you put out there, is fantastic. And then, yeah, I mean, obviously your what you guys build is really cool. It's just it's a no brainer. Like, I wish you guys were around when I was an originator, because this would like solve, because I did the same thing. Like I tried to build it myself. It was an absolute disaster, keeping up with, like when WordPress was upgrading, right? Or like if a lead form broke, or publishing content and making sure that I'm telling the right story. And then you forget about it for 6 months and you're like, oh, my website's down. Like, yeah, like all those assets that you shouldn't have to worry about for, a few bucks. So this is really cool, man. I love what you guys have built. That's unreal.
Appreciate it. Let me just leave you with this before we go. So of all the content I create, it's all, educate and help up front. Same thing you guys should be doing, driving to the website to convert. Of all that effort, do you know where most of my business comes from?
What's that?
Follow up.
Nice.
All through the CRM. So it's all the work, but all that back end work can't happen without the front end work. They really do go hand in hand. But I would say 90% of our business happens back here. It's just they just got interested up here. So,
well, we'll have to talk about Bonzo, because that's exactly what we focus on, right? It's like continuing that conversation. And obviously Bonzo can integrate directly with Vonk and all that kind of fun stuff. So we can we'll talk about that. For our, for the people on the Bonzo side, it makes it really easy to integrate your Bonzo account with a Vonk website or lead form, whatever the case may be. So it's all seamless. It's really cool.
Yeah. All right, Jason. Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Anthony. Good stuff. Love it. vonkdigital.com. What's your email, Anthony?
Anthony@vonkdigital.com.
Easy peasy. All right, man. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't even know how to stop recording.